So this is a story about transformation. It's kind of about one young, brutish homophobe becoming the cosmopolitan friend of the world that I am. I grew up on the shore, small towns, small minds. It was, I can't say I was a bully. I didn't pick on people, but I was a snarky motherfucker. I mean, I didn't care who I heard or who I stepped on at any point in time. And so, face it, in the late 80s, you didn't really have a lot of good gay role models. I mean, it was basically just what TV and movies had to kind of spew out upon you. Oh, and religion, which of course I had in spades. So I had developed this opinion of homosexuality, and I will admit that it was not pretty. I had learned all of the wrong lessons from reading those dogmatic pages on the subject. So God decided to teach me the right lessons and threw homosexuals at me by the divine fistfuls. I had just had friends of, or hordes of gay men who just wanted to get to know me. There's two people in particular that I remember, is Ralph and Norman. And now, first off, we were all nerds. We were all peas in the pod. Living in this house, and my friend Josh, his father was some Manhattan executive who very rarely was ever home. And so, when we weren't working, we basically spent all our time, I don't know, watching bad horror flicks or playing Dungeons and Dragons or video games. And by the way, when I say video games, I mean like Pong and Space Invaders. So Ralph was this young, disheveled youth who was really proud of his newfound sexuality. And, my God, he would just hit on everything with 3 legs. And so, ultimately, I would, the first time he grabbed my ass, my friends had to physically, restrain me. And he loved it. He just loved flaunting his ideals and loved getting a rise out of me, figuratively speaking. Now, the first time I met Norman, I was actually walking down the streets of Red Bank, New Jersey with Josh. And this svelte, ostentatious black youth came out of a store, and some kid across the way sort of playfully was like, "Fag!" And, Norman was like, just as flamboyantly, "Queen!" And that was my introduction to him. And Norman was obviously as gay as the day was long. However, he paid me no attention. He had absolutely no time for my single-mindedness. And after that summer, and after spending a lot of time with these people, I had realized that something very important is the things about Ralph that I didn't like had absolutely nothing to do with his sexuality. It was that what I didn't like about Ralph was the things that I already didn't like about womanizers. It was that it didn't matter who he hit on. It was that ultimately the people that, he had made advances towards were just collections of attractive parts and a means to a possible good time. So, many years later, I would be sitting around with some co-workers of mine, or not many years, probably like that winter. I was sitting around with some co-workers of mine, and we were all on the counters of the department store we worked at, and one person said, tried to sort of turn this all around on me and tell me that this inclination was in fact my repressing a latent desire for cock. And one of the guys there, in fact, the only gay man in the room was like, "You know what? I'm pretty certain Don is the most heterosexual man I know." And at the time, that was a point of pride for me. But now, 20 years later, at times, honestly lamenting that men really don't do anything for me, the reality is that I'm not really convinced that that was a compliment. And I will tell you, it's very sobering to understand that amidst a group of good people, that you're the bad